Log.
You can see he's getting a little grayer. Have you noticed that? In fact, they're starting to call him the Silver Fox. That's what they're calling him, the Silver Fox. That's because most of the silver in his hair was caused by fox. That was the problem. That's why it's silver. Yeah. And President Obama has sent John McCain to Cairo to help solve the political problems that brought the Egyptian government to a halt. I got an idea. How about some of the problems that brought our government to a halt? Why don't we start with that one first? Yeah, that might be a good idea. Yeah.
All right, there you go. Welcome to the Steve Malzberg Show now, officially. And that was the right cut. That was Jay Leno before he had the president on last night on The Tonight Show on NBC. He didn't confront him nearly as harshly in the real interview as he did while Obama was off stage. But joining us right now to talk about something that was addressed last night between Leno and Obama and then came to fruition this morning is former Congressman Pete Hoekstra. Of course, served the great state of Michigan and was the chair of the House Intelligence Committee. Hello, Congressman. How are you? Welcome back.
Hey, I'm doing just fine. Thank you. Good to be back.
Well, thank you. All right. So, of course, the news today, after addressing it on the Jay Leno show yesterday, the Snowden affair and Russia giving him safe harbor for at least a year, and talking about their Cold War mentality that they slip back into ever so often. This morning, we learned that President Obama has canceled his planned meeting in Moscow with Russian President Vladimir Putin, and this is being seen, of course, as a direct result of the Snowden affair. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think this is a good first step for the president. I think there's another step that the president could take that a lot of members of Congress have had a lot of concerns about. The U.S. government, through the Pentagon, is poised to buy over $500 million of Russian helicopters and give them to the Afghan government. It's kind of like this is a no-brainer. That order should be canceled. If we're going to be giving helicopters to the Afghan, why don't we give them the world's best and give them some American helicopters?
Well, yeah, please, because you've caught me really off guard. Explain to me obviously you don't see the logic either, but how is this even happening? Why on earth would we buy Russian helicopters and give them to the Afghans as opposed to having them made here and giving them to the Afghans?
Because the Afghans supposedly would prefer to have Russian helicopters. Well, when we're buying it and we're giving it to them, for their use after we leave, it's kind of like, we think really maybe you should have American helicopters. We also have a lot of helicopters that have been mothballed, so we could take those out of we could refurbish them, get them out of the mothball fleet and give them to Afghanistan. There's a whole lot of other ways that you could do this rather than giving a company that reportedly is selling lots of arms to Syria, helping in Iran, rather than giving them another $500 million plus contract. Let's just give them American equipment. It is the best in the world. There's no reason for us to be supporting Russian jobs, the Russian economy. Last I looked, the American economy was still struggling, and we should be creating those jobs right here in the United States.
Congressman, does the Congress have to sign off on this, or is this just something that the president or the administration agreed to with the Afghani government?
Well, the Pentagon and the Afghani government, this administration, they reached an agreement with the Afghan government to do this. Congress has spoken clearly on this, both through the appropriations process last year and again as they're going through the appropriations process almost unanimously. Congress has said no more money for buying Russian helicopters. And this is one of the times where you give this administration credit. They've been really creative, and they said, well, you know what? We're not going to use 2013 dollars. We found some money that was appropriated, but that wasn't spent back in 2012. So we're going to go outside the directives of Congress, and we're going to use that money that we have left over from 2012, and we're going to get around that congressional directive, and we'll use that money to buy these helicopters. It's again, kind of the schizophrenia that you see out of the Obama administration. On the one side, they're saying, we're really going to be tough. We're going to cancel this summit. And then in the background, we're going out and buying and spending $500 million plus on Russian military equipment.
Yeah, and symbolically, of course, one really has no effect. And here, as you just pointed out, all the advantages to American companies and American jobs and whatnot, if the helicopters were made or taken from the United States, it just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. All right, that would be a great second step. Do you think that Vladimir Putin is feeling this at all? Do you think this will result in any kind of expedition of this situation, or maybe getting Snowden out of the country sooner, back to the U.S. or back to somewhere else?
No, I've met Putin. I don't think this worries him at all. I feel. I think this guy feels energized. He feels emboldened. Early on in this administration, the president said he was going to reset his relationship with Russia. Canceled, I believe, the radar sites in Poland. And just like Al Qaeda and the radical jihadist elements and the folks in the Middle East see America as weak, I don't think Putin's intimidated at all. He sees a weak America. He sees a weak administration, and I think he's I'm sure that as he goes to bed tonight, he'll sleep, and this will not be a major concern that will keep him awake.
We're talking to former Congressman Pete Hoekstra, the former chair of the House Intelligence Committee here on the Steve Malzberg Show. And along those lines, Congressman, let's talk about the closing of the embassies. There's a report today by Eli Lake and Josh Rogan that it wasn't just any terrorist message that triggered the closings and all the hullabaloo that we've seen, but in fact it was a conference call of more than 20, they say, far-flung al-Qaeda operatives, including top brass and maybe even the leader himself, who knows, that led to this. I have two questions. One, did the U.S. act appropriately? Did we overreact or not? And two, why would the administration, if they did leak on purpose that, we bugged the phone, we heard the phone call of the leader of al-Qaeda? Why would they want that known?
Well, on the first one, I haven't seen the intelligence, how specific it was. If it was very specific, if it was talking about embassies and those types of things, I think the administration probably acted. You could justify the actions the administration took. I mean, if it was just generally about attacks, there are all kinds of Western symbols throughout the Middle East, whether it's the embassies, whether it's oil refineries, whether it's the banks or anything like that, that also could have been targets. So, without seeing the specific intelligence, you'll just have to take it at face value that the administration did what it thought it needed to do, and did so out of the utmost of caution to protect American interests and American personnel. The second thing, if number one, if there actually was a conference call, you have Al Qaeda believing, and we know that Osama bin Laden never really used cell phones and kept all of that stuff away. We now have the new leadership of Al Qaeda saying, "Hey, we think that we've got now a foolproof method where we can get 20 of us on the phone and we can talk and plot and discuss strategy and those types of things." And we think we've developed a secure way to do it so that the U.S. and the NSA and all the other tools that America has at its disposal, they don't have a reach into us. I, for the life of me, cannot understand why anybody would let that information out. Obviously now they're going to go dark on this. They'll never use this technique again, and they'll figure out another way to do it. I don't know why we would have done it. It brings back memories of what happened after we got Osama bin Laden, where someone leaked out that there was this doctor who helped us.
Yes.
And this poor doctor is now rotting in jail, and we're not doing anything to get him out. And now we have a tool that looked to be working extremely well, and now will never be used by Al Qaeda again. It baffles me.
Yeah, and of course that doctor in Pakistan, and of course also Joe Biden announced that SEAL Team 6 was responsible, and then later on, many believe there's an investigation right now going on, and there's a book, Betrayal, written by Paul Vallely and one of the parents of the dead SEALs, that helicopter, or that plane crash that killed so many members of that SEAL team 2 months after the bin Laden attack was retribution, and they had a target on their back ever since Biden had mentioned that it was that team specifically that had done the deed to Osama bin Laden. One more, and let's turn domestically here. In your opinion, we have Mitt Romney reemerging yesterday to talk about defunding Obamacare and taking the likes of Ted Cruz and Tea Party conservatives and a handful of others in the Republican Party to task, saying that we should do away with Obamacare, but voting to defund it, which could lead to a government shutdown, either in the continuing resolution or the next budget, is a mistake because we could lose the House, et cetera. Which school of thought are you on this? Keep passing these resolutions or these bills in the House, which are never going to go beyond that say end Obamacare, or actually saying, hey, guess what? The IRS isn't getting money to work on this, or some other part isn't going to get money to work in Obamacare, and actually, try to stand on principle, in my opinion, obviously, and energize the base and energize the country, the majority of which is against this health care bill.
They need to energize the American people against Obamacare and continue keeping the pressure on. They made a huge strategic mistake over the last couple of weeks, which came out on Friday and got a lot of press over the weekend, which is they bailed out the congressional staff. Now, I've got a lot of friends. I understand what they're doing, but you can't just fix Obamacare for the people on Capitol Hill. It's broken for lots of other people around the country. They should have said, we ain't fixing Obamacare for the people on Capitol Hill until we fix it for other Americans. That should have been something they should never have agreed to. And I hope there's people that take the president to court for what the directives that they've issued about how they're going to, bypass the law and make this work now for Capitol Hill. I think that they should go, as they go through this, the budgeting cycle, they should go for all that they can get in terms of defunding all of it or defunding parts of it as they go through the next couple of months.
While running the risk of having the government shut down, and of course the media and the Democrats will blame it on the Republicans.
Sure. You got to remember, Steve, I was one of the Republicans back in '95 that after Newt Gingrich wanted to open up government, after we had shut it down, I voted to keep it closed. I'm not. If they're going to use that strategy, they clearly have to have a strategy in place about how they're going to talk to how they're going to talk to the American people about this and these types of things. I do have a real fear that once major portions of Obamacare are implemented,
it's done. Yeah,
it's done.
Yeah,
and so this really may be the last best chance to significantly change it or to get rid of it totally. And the best thing to do is to delay it for a year. I think Dave Camp, the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, he's arguing for that, just saying there's too many pieces that are broken that aren't ready for prime time.
Right.
Delay it for a year.
And if they could communicate that and communicate the president's own admission that it's broken, and a story out today that talks about how the information isn't secure when people apply online, the IT data is not secure, they might be hacked, and say to the American people, we're not going to let this go through for blah, blah, blah reasons. And if the president shuts down the government and doesn't accept this, then it's his fault. But of course, I don't know if they're capable of doing that, and I don't think Boehner is willing to go through with it.
Well, the other thing is you have a media that
I know that
that doesn't give it's not an objective reporting anymore. Can you imagine? Think of all the flack that President Bush took for standing under a banner that said "Mission Accomplished,"
right.
Where you've now got an administration that says Al Qaeda's on the run.
Yep.
They're decimated, and 8-9 short months later, we're closing dozens of embassies around the world.
Couldn't agree with you more, but as you well know, that in the presidential elections and on issues like this, if the Republicans don't learn that they're fighting the media as much as they are their opponents, and are willing to take it on and realize what they have to do and say things that the media might call them names, then we're never going to win and we're never going to get anything done.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Congressman, I thank you so much for your time. Pleasure speaking to you, sir.
All right. Hey.